how Mega Man warned us about the future of robotics and artificial intelligence, or AI. So you got to understand the way that Mega Man started and what it really became. Mega Man was one of those series that is a warning. You got to understand, a lot of stuff that comes out in media is either programming, a warning, or symbolic of what might be to come, or what they want you to manifest by getting you to subconsciously buy into it through movies and programming. So we have to understand this is exactly what media really is. It's a way of controlling time, controlling events, or warning people about possible futures. And you can use media to your own advantage too. Once you understand the truth and you understand the symbols and what shows up in media, what shows up in movies, TV shows, the game and the program can't be used against you. Once you understand the ritual being used at play, then you're free. But if you don't understand, then you are ripe for programming, or you might miss out on the message that's actually hidden within there, that's there to help you, rather than somebody coming out and risking their life and just saying it outright. So Mega Man is one of those things that I truly believe that Capcom and all the creators involved with Mega Man, they was just trying to warn us about a possible future or a possibility. So we have to really look at this, that in the classic series, you got to see that Mega Man, all the robots, they were designed to help benefit humanity, to help humanity live life easier, rather than to allow robots to take over. But robots industrialized, the robotic industrialization really changed everything in the way that the world worked in the classic series. You can compare it to other things like Astro Boy or whatever. In Mega Man, they took jobs. Single robots can do the jobs of hundreds of people. So that's really what it was in the classic series. But you also saw that even with Dr. Light exploring the potential of robots, Dr. Wily, his jealousy also rivaled that. So you also have humanity at play here. And you got to understand, with humanity, every step forward, there's also another step in another completely different direction. Not a step backwards, but if somebody's going right, somebody's going to go left. There's always going to be some sort of a clash. This is a law of polarity. It is one of those things that is present in the physical dimension. You can't necessarily escape it, but you can neutralize it with your mindset. So obviously someone like Dr. Wily is going to be antagonizing him for whatever reason. It's still that bickering, that human bickering. There's some sort of rivalry, some sort of argument. That's what creates the classic series in and of itself. So now Mega Man has to come along and stop the robots from going crazy, because Dr. Wily has taken the robots, manipulated them, and used them for his own gain. So all it takes is one person or one group of people to manipulate robotics and AI to try to use it for control, to try to use it for power and dominance, or to get their own way with whatever human problems, whatever is stopping them. And you got to understand, like I said in many other videos, there are people out there that want power and dominance over you, that might even have unconscious power and dominance over you just due to your own societal programming. So you got to understand, you got to learn how to free your mind through spirituality, through truth and knowledge. And that's really the only way that you could truly salvage yourself from the situation. Just understanding that there is a game being played on you. And the classic series sort of warns us just about the potentials that things can happen in terms of robotics. So Dr. Wily could be seen as a symbol of, large entities trying to use robotics and manipulate them to create a situation of danger in the present world or in the future. And it's really up to us. If we unlock spiritual abilities within ourselves, that's not really going to phase us. So, and this also leads into the X series, because you got to understand, humans in the classic series, they still had a role because they programmed the robots. But as time went on in Mega Man, you got to really understand what really happens to humans. And so in the X series, by this time, when X is created, X is Dr. Light's ultimate creation. And he's the primary symbol of what AI and robotics should be like. Free thinking, but benevolent, creative, and empathetic. That is essentially his ultimate goal and what he truly focused on. But you have to understand, at this point, this is when robotics their power superseded humanity's power. Technology advanced further past what humanity did, because humanity didn't really tap in spiritually. So this is what led to a Terminator situation like the Maverick Wars, because you already had the Wily Wars with the robots and everything. That's just with humans controlling the situation. But at this point, Reploids, or the more evolved versions of robots, but Reploids, they have become much more powerful, much more intelligent than humans could be. Humanity's technology has surpassed them, and not all of them are benevolent like X is supposed to be, but their template is based on him. But they still have a flaw in their programming. I'm going to get to that in a second. And Sigma, you got to look at Sigma, because Sigma is the exact opposite of X in terms of what he really is. And Sigma learns that he is based on that template of X, and he has that jealousy because robots still possess the potential for what humans designed them from, and that's emotion too. So Sigma represents the possibility of a Terminator or apocalyptic scenario in which robots deduce that humans are unnecessary and seek to get rid of them or enslave them or use them for whatever purposes that they want to use them for. And that's how quickly the script can flip. It goes from humans running the games to robots running the games real quick if humans don't really get their shit together spiritually or technologically and not allow this to get out of hand. And all it took was a human to allow this to happen, right? So we got to look at that too. So Sigma and many other Reploids do not have nearly the same amount of empathy as X, if at all. They are based on his template, but they're not him. And that's something that Dr. Light never got to perfect. You got to understand, the Mega Man series is showing the flaws of humanity and the consequences of humanity. So the Matrix can also be seen as the consequences of the Maverick Wars or robotic takeover too, as what happens when this ideology is successful. It's the most repeated idea of what people think may happen if robots and AI take over, which is mass unemployment, enslavement, or war. And this is programming and possibly a psyop. So you got to understand, when this is pushed everywhere online and social media, they're trying to program you and get you to buy into it. This is why you always see it in the movies. Just randomly throw it in there talking about, oh, AI is going to take over the world. I heard it in the Black Panther Wakanda Forever movie. It had nothing to do with the scene at all. It's just a random line inserted in there. That's so they can insert little tidbits to get you buying into the reality and take you to a different timeline and make it susceptible to happening. Because you watching it and you not knowing or understanding the programming at hand is basically getting you to subconsciously agree with it by having it tap into symbols and images in your mind through your subconscious mind, which creates reality. So humans are nowhere to be seen in the X series. And you have to understand that is the consequence of what they've done. They need to hide away from robots and Sigma due to the danger that they possess now. And the danger that they possess is simply due to the Sigma virus. This problem arises from a lack of direction and evolution for humans, right? So when we lose our direction, we start focusing on technology instead of focusing on inner technology. Outer technology is cell phones, Wi-Fi, lights, instead of finding the light within and understand the ancient technology that we had for millennia. And not just what you see in hieroglyphs in books and what they tell you about ancient history, but for things in civilizations that we don't even know the names of anymore, or that we can't even see anymore due to our physical capabilities right now. And most people focusing on the physical rather than understanding and seeing different levels of spiritual realities. So if humans are to make an intelligent species such as robots and be surpassed by them, because robots they can do anything intellectually. So if the ceiling is intellect and you make something that can show intellect and perform intellectually faster than you, now you've made something stronger than you intellectually, because it's not operating off of what you're operating on. Humans can operate off of empathy, intellect, and intuition, all three in one, and spiritually. Robots don't have that capability. So when you understand that difference and you make something in a time period where people have lost touch, now you're setting things up for destruction. But the only way you can really prevent that is if enough people get on the same page to create a vibratory change in the collective consciousness. And to do that, people like me, people like you, have to spread their notion, their truth, and change the collective unconscious spiritually. And that is exactly why a lot of people now, you can see a lot of people now, they're coming into religion after not really being, practicing or whatever, or not really having a practice or any sort of sense of spirituality. A lot of people are coming into religion. You see Islam is growing, Christianity is growing, people are going to Hinduism, all these things, because at this time period, you got to understand, with all this technology, all it's really going to lead you back is to the truth. And we all know, we all feel it in our hearts, we all feel it in our bones. There is a truth to a certain degree of spirituality. There is a God essence out there, whether you believe it's a God outside of you, or whether you believe it's a God within you, or whether you believe pantheistically that there's a God everywhere and nowhere all at the same time. Whatever the case may be, we're all coming into that truth, even with all this huge advancements of technology. Why is that? Because no matter how much we advance technology, we already know the truth is built into humans within. And the truth is spirituality, any sort of spirituality. So this is what happened in the Mega Man series. They didn't make a way for themselves to evolve too. And this is why they're in bunkers hiding away from their own creations, because they didn't evolve spiritually. That's why I say Mega Man is a warning. The X series kind of describes what this is really going to look like. And theories and ideologies centering around transhumanism or spirituality are solutions to this, as robots don't have access to either due to the lack of being human. And what humans possess that robots don't, like I said before, is intuition, empathy, and spirituality. Sure, robots, anything can really develop a spirit and could develop a soul at some point. But as shown by Sigma as a virus and Biometals in the ZX series, there's a sort of a spirit that they have going on there. And that's essentially what allows robots to come into that same type of consciousness as well. But if we're not doing it ourselves, what makes you think we're going to be able to surpass a creation that can do things faster and more efficiently than us? So you have to understand, when we come into a time where you're more focused on being creative, you're more focused on doing things that technically is already in your spiritual essence. You had it when you were a child, focusing on creativity instead of just doing things cyclically, like working your 9 to 5, just doing the same thing, what somebody tells you all the time. But now you're being forced to be creative. You're in a creative society, a creative economy. Essentially, that's where things are really going. You can't be scared of robots and artificial intelligence taking over. You have to see it as an opportunity for you to grow, for you to transform, for you to evolve, for you to grow spiritually, for you to do things and create things. Essentially, you gotta understand, we're created in God's image, and God is a creator, and God's also a destroyer. So you have to destroy your notion of what you thought life was, and you have to start creating something new. Destroy your notion of who you thought you were and create something new. So in the Zero series, you have Dr. Weil, or Dr. Wheel, however you want to say it. I'm going to say Dr. Weil. He starts off as a human who wanted to remedy the suffering caused by the Maverick Wars, using Omega, Zero's body, as a weapon to force Reploids to submit. And his initial intention was to save humanity's creation, which went haywire, Reploids, by using as much power as they possibly can. Eventually, Dr. Weil is betrayed by his own kind due to X's idea of coexistence and the use of the mother elf to cure the Sigma virus. And he's banished, and his memories are converted into data, and he's forced to live with his crimes in a painful regenerative suit. So humanity turned on him, and he was just trying to remedy the situation. He was trying to put robots back in their place, and separate that by using a robot against them. So, and this is what I say, you got to look back at the Eric Killmonger video, because the villain tells the real story. Usually the villain is actually the true hero. And even though Dr. Weil is probably the most diabolical villain, you got to understand where he came from and how he developed that ideology and how he developed the mindset that he became. Despite his corruption, he had a much bigger idea for humanity, because he started to realize that this is not how things are supposed to be. And Sigma, even though Sigma turned against humanity, he was doing what he thought was right. even after being infected by the Zero virus, he was doing what he felt was right, because he thought humanity was just using robots for their own benefit. So that's what the real war is. You're not giving them or giving the creation its own thing, but you're just using it to make your life easier. But there's tools for that. But if you're going to create something that's independent, then that thing's independence cannot be overridden by your need for human comfort. And so this was the problem. This is why the robots had the idea to remove humanity in the first place, because humanity, they saw, destroys everything around it, even their own creations. That's why you have all these robots and different things like Terminator or whatever the case may be. Their ultimate idea is to destroy humanity, because if they don't do it, humanity is going to continue its existence as a violent entity. And truthfully, that is the truth. That's why intellectually they decide that humanity does have to go. And that's why spiritually, in spiritual texts, it even said, all it really talks about is that you have to get up out of the flesh, whether it's Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, whatever the case may be. And the reason why is because at the end of the day, all humans are still just animals. And animals fight for survival. Animals fight for dominance. Animals fight for power. So we might dress it up in a million different ways, but at the end of the day, it's still just a survival game. It's still just a human animal instinct. And so if you have an intellectual entity like a robot, it's going to deduce that in order for humans to progress, they have to become something else. They have to transform into something else. And humans don't do that in the X series. They don't do that in the entire Mega Man series. Well, except towards the end, but we're going to get to that in a second. So that's essentially what happens. So anybody who experienced what Dr. Weil experienced, they're going to develop a deep hatred for humans as well. And he did. Therefore, he plots against both humans and Reploids in his Zero series to ensure their end. So that's where the Elf Wars come in. Dr. Weil, he's a human who developed hatred for Reploids and robots as well. So during the Maverick Wars, and that accelerates the dystopia using Omega. And Omega is a symbol for the end of something. And he forces humans into a resistance. And you got to think about it like this. What ends up happening is 60% of humans are removed. They're dead because of the Maverick Wars and the Elf Wars. This is a failure. They're warning you about the failure of human society if they decide to rely too much on artificial intelligence for their answers, too much on robotics for their answers, too much on technology instead of going within and truly bringing what's within, the ancient technology, the spiritual technology, to the forefront. So we have to understand, both humans and AI, they're both the issue. Wiley's jealousy is what started all this in the first place. That's human jealousy. The need for power, dominance, acceptance. That's where jealousy really stems from. So you could really just bring Wiley's jealousy just all back down to the human need for acceptance or power or dominance. Sigma's corruption is an extension of that, because there was no way to properly check its programming. And the nature of the Wiley and the Zero and the Sigma virus, the way that they happened, the thing is, these viruses happen simply because of the fact that viruses are natural. They occur in humanity as well. You got to think about humanity as a virus too. A virus of the mind can cause a human to do terrible things that endanger humanity in themselves. And you got to see people like Wiley, or people that want to control your mind, they are a virus to spiritual progress. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna take something like robotics and AI, get you to buy into it, and then use it against you for manipulation and control. Your only defense against that is your own spirituality. That is your only defense against that. And that's the nature, that's the vicious cycle of life in the Matrix. So why these actions are the nail in the coffin. And that was early on in the Mega Man series. And they're only balanced due to a robot's malfunctioning, which is Zero's malfunctioning. And that made him a good guy. And then he eventually works with X, who seeks coexistence with humans. And so that happens through Neo Arcadia and Elysium. That was X's ultimate goal. And even though it is a success, it's a success that's short-lived. And it's short-lived due to the nature of evil ways always being a balancing force. Like I said, the law of polarity. And That's because humanity didn't develop themselves enough to keep up with their more advanced creations or reploids. So the solution for this is for humans to search for and develop ways to evolve themselves rather than using external creations and solutions for that. Why do you think there's such a push to get you into this transhumanism stuff? There's such a push to get you buying into using AI for everything. You know, we become so reliant on things that we can do ourselves. You know, looking for AI to give you spiritual answers when you can get those answers from within. Looking at somebody in authority to give you the answers of things that have happened, what is, what has been, what will be. They give you lies. The only way you can really find the truth is by looking within. So this is essentially the consequences of not going within. This is the consequences of humanity's actions, not growing spiritually, not following through with what their higher selves, not following through with God's message for them. So our ancient systems of spirituality, they are the solutions for that. And you have these systems within you, our ancient and our future systems, and the systems that we developed through our suffering and our slavery in the matrix. Those things that have become will be what gets you out of the matrix in and of itself. You just had to find a way to tap into that. And you can't do it externally. It's something that's built into you. It's your birthright. It cannot be removed from you. The only way they've removed you from it is by gaslighting you into making you think that it's not real at all. Pitting your imagination against you by saying that's just child's play. That's nothing serious. Pitting your spirituality against you by saying, oh, that's just demonic, you know, or that it doesn't exist. This atheistic notion that there's no sense of spirit, there's no sense of spiritual direction. That's something given to you by the Tamahu people. That's something given to you by the Albions. So we have to understand that. And the minute that we stop is when we slow down and destroy ourselves. So you have to constantly keep moving. Your spirituality has to constantly keep growing, has to constantly keep moving. You have to constantly keep tapping into it. And that's the ultimate solution. Humanity itself is what began the Wily Wars in the Mega Man series. The Maverick Wars, the Elf Wars, and eventually led to Dr. Wile, a human turning against everything, wanting the ultimate destruction of everything because he realized that robots aren't going to get their shit together and humans aren't either. So why have either of them in existence when you can control them? So this is the ultimate opposite of what could possibly be a great future of us using this to our advantage, but not being overly reliant on it. This is the opposite of what happens. So had humans advanced themselves spiritually or technologically and worked against the evil that they created, this could have been avoided. All these wars could have been avoided if they had used their technology rather than allowing it to use them. And it's clear that these games are consequences of humanity's actions and a warning for how bad things can get the more docile humans become, the more reliant on technology that humans become, instead of relying on their spirituality. And we can see this as a template of how to avoid a possible Terminator and Sigma situation. So if you have not played Mega Man, you need to play it, or you need to at least figure out the story of it too, because I'm not going to be able to give it all to you in one video. In the ZX series, you see that coexistence is achieved. And that robot lifespans, they get limited, but the same issues that plague humanity are present. You got to understand with the way that Master Albert and Serpent operate, it's just a need for control, dominance, and power. Now that anybody can tap into, robotics through transhumanism. Humans became humanoids here. They extend their lifespans through transhumanism, which is an alternative solution to humanity's evolution issue and the ability to keep up with AI. But guess what? They didn't tap into that spirituality. So this is what leads to a darker future. And in the Legend series, you even see that even with humanity's advancements, they still go extinct after the death of the Master. And the Master is the only human left by this time. So they live on Elysium or Neo Arcadia, and they create artificial humans called carbons to populate Earth while they seek to move away from that. They're seeking to move on from it because they failed in their mission and they have to move on to something else. They have to transform into something else. And ultimately, humanity should collectively be looking to expand past their culture and their own planet. So they gave what they were as humans, they gave that to the carbons, to the artificial humans, and they left it behind. And you can see this is essentially what's been done, through Egyptian mythology, through different mythologies, leaving the world behind, Gnosticism, leaving the world behind and going away from it, understanding that this isn't really where the true reality is. That's why every religion, every spiritual system talks about movement out of the flesh. And this is exactly what humanity ended up doing, even through years of suffering. So this is the Legend series is literally the end. And they were possibly able to move their souls away from the conflict present on Earth. And Earth is flooded by now. So a lot of the conflict ended, with whatever happened. It's unclear between what happened in the ZX series and the Legend series, but a lot of things change. And the path of transhumanism could be seen as a success and a failure as well. It's a success because humans learned a big lesson and they were able to move on. In their extinction, they could have moved on spiritually. Who knows? But the speculation leads you to believe that their souls went somewhere else or just gave up and allowed artificial humans to continue their job. But seeing as they were giving them their culture, giving them everything, and they just told them, hey, you are the humans now, we're something else. That means that humans moved on to become something else. And the master was clearly content with that. And you can see that this is the artificial humans is an Egyptian and Kemetic reference to the Tamahu, the created people, mankind, Yaqub's created people. And you can also see it's a failure because there could possibly be no semblance of spirituality that's present. And that could lead one to believe that humanity may have been left behind in their extinction. Who knows? But their spirits could have moved on somewhere else. And that's really all that matters. So these are the lessons that we can really learn from robotics and AI through Mega Man. You have to learn we can't rely on this technology. This technology is great. We can use this technology to program our reality. You can use your cell phone to program your reality and show you the things that you need to see to make yourself a better person, to make yourself and change your reality and make it fit your mold. Use it to your advantage, but it could also be used against you to keep you in cycles of just complete laziness and programming. It could open you up to a whole reality of programming, and whatever those who want to control your mind can do it through that medium. So when we move into robotics and AI, you have to understand that's not the potential. That's not your fullest potential as a human being. Your fullest potential is within your spirit. So we can create all these nice gadgets and everything. We can look at what we have done in the past and just bring it to the things now, because this isn't even new technology. But we have to understand technology is meant to be used. It's not meant to be relied on. And the thing is, they've got you to attach to your senses. Gnosticism teaches you that the demiurge has got you to attach to your senses of survival. And you have to understand new senses are being created for you through technology. That's why they're trying to get you to buy into this metaverse, this virtual reality, this AI stuff, and not really balance out your spirit before going into it. And that'll open you up to a whole host of new different things and, get you with this smart city illusion type of life, controlled, police state type of life. But instead of doing that, if you really learn how to tap in, nothing can really phase you. Your spirit is always going to protect you. God's always going to protect you. Your spirituality is always going to keep you moving forward. And no matter what is done to the body, nothing's done to the soul, nothing's done to the spirit. So tapping in spiritually will allow you to supersede technology. Your body's going to die eventually, but instead of relying on technology to keep it alive, why not gain enough truth, spiritual knowledge and growth so that you don't have to care about relying on physical technology? And if you gain enough spiritual knowledge, you're not going to have to worry about trying to preserve yourself beyond the grave. You'll live long enough spiritually because you know how to activate certain things within yourself to transform yourself. And those things can't be taught in books. Those things, you might get a framework to look at, and by all means read as many books as you can. But eventually you have to go within to find these answers. And you have to learn how to program your mind, in a sense, to overcome your limitations. Because at the end of the day, all it is just a mind game being played. So the sooner you understand the mind game being played and you start to play your own game and you start to control your own mind, now nothing can limit you. So this is essentially what we should all be looking for. Those who are really who are ready to, because not everyone's going to be able to do it. The masses aren't going to be able to do it. But if enough people do it, then yes, a change can be produced. If you recognize the symbols and what's going on and the warnings that they put in different media like Mega Man, then you'll be able to help in the coming, whenever this happens, or whenever humanity really does advance technologically, then you'll be able to change the future for the better. And you have to understand the better future is always in our hands. Don't be worrying so much about everything going wrong, but be worried about how can I help contribute to the world, contribute to myself spiritually, so that everything changes, because I've helped contribute something spiritually. I've helped. How can you help in that sense? Because if enough people do that, if enough people focus on themselves, then naturally their spirit's going to lead them somewhere regardless of whether or not they're doing it for spiritual or religious reasons. Naturally, everything is going to change, and people can go into a new world where, their spirit is the ultimate technology, but these things are a nice addition to the human experience, like robotics, AI. They want you to be scared so they can control you. But if you understand the warnings, you won't need to be scared. If you understand your spirit, you won't be scared. You'll be glad that you know the truth, and you'll know exactly how to operate and what to do to change things in your favor, and possibly help change the world in your favor. So take these things as motivation, inspiration to really start creating certain spiritual disciplines and growing, past what you've been before. Thanks for listening. Peace.